Welcome to the next episode of the Faces of Newquay podcast. And today I'm speaking to Matt from the New Wave Church in Newquay. He gives us some real interesting insight into the church's involvement into the community and their philosophies in general. I hope you enjoy listening, and don't forget to check out all other 8 of our podcasts with really fascinating people who are all doing good for the local community. So it would be great to hear the kind of start of the journey. I thought it was a really interesting story.
So I guess we moved down to Newquay in the year 2000 after spending a year in Australia, and I'd really got into surfing and the whole outdoor lifestyle, and originally from Milton Keynes in Buckinghamshire, and just came back there and thought, well, I just need to go and live by the sea, and just felt this draw to the ocean, and wandered down to Newquay in my early 20s, and with my fiance at the time, and we were looking for somewhere to get married, and we walked past the church which is in its old building just down the road there, and I walked past the church, and there was this van that says Christian Surfers on it, and I was intrigued, because at the time I wasn't a believer, I wasn't following God, wasn't following Jesus, so I was intrigued by this concept of Christian surfers. Could you be such a thing? So I thought, maybe we can get married there, and I knocked on the door, and this surf guy opened the door to me, and I was like, "Hey bro, come on in," and he welcomed us into there, and then I went into that community, and it felt like, even though we were away from home, I walked in there and it felt like I'd arrived home. I felt like, wow, these people are really genuine. They've got a genuine love for each other, and they really cared, and it really spoke to me, and it sort of touched my heart, and I thought, wow, these guys have got something that I haven't got. And I was intrigued, and I walked in there, and I instantly felt part of this community, this family. That's what it felt like. It felt like an extended family, and I thought, wow, this is so precious. Do you know what I mean? You just don't see this nowadays.
Yeah.
So then I began this sort of asking these questions about God and faith, and then I began to explore those questions within the context of this community. And I came to realise actually that there was a God, and He did love me, and He did have a plan for me, and I just needed to open myself up to Him. I'm from Him. I was able to be forgiven of all the things I've done in the past. I was able to have hope for the future, and a real peace in my present moment. And life since then hasn't been plain sailing. We've had many battles, but to know that there's been a God that's been there with me is life changing.
Do you feel like you can create that sense of community and that those feelings that you described without religion as well?
I think there are some amazing people doing some amazing things, and I think you can feel that sense of community. But I think what's very unique about the church is that it's a community that's gathered around the presence of God. And as Christians, we believe that God is the source of life, that He's a source of love, because the Bible says that God is love. So if we're looking for true love, actually, we look no further than the person and the presence of God in Jesus, because the Bible says He's the way, the truth, and the life. And so, I think there's other communities out there, other ways of community life that are really good and wholesome and healthy. But what I find unique about the church is that we've got all of that, and this amazing relationship that we can have with God through His Son Jesus that is actually transforming. Like, I can honestly say Jesus set me free from my addictions, from my hurts, from my habits. I actually feel He's healed me. I feel like I'm whole, like He's completely transformed my life. And I think I can get elements of that from other people, but actually going to God, and as He's the one who's transformed me. I could put that down to His work through people, but actually, for me personally, He's the one that's transformed my life.
So was it the belief that there is a a kind of higher power, or was it the connections that you made with the people that worked here and at the organisation, or a combination of both?
I think it's exactly that. It's kind of both, and it was seeing God at work through people and seeing their lives transformed, and they were living lives of integrity and honesty, and they're not perfect people, none of us are, but they were really striving to please God, and I was like, wow, it's quite, and everything. It's like their faith was their motive behind what they did, and I was intrigued by that, which then provoked me to then explore God for myself and go on my own little spiritual journey, which then led me to encounter God for myself. So it wasn't just God through others, but actually now I'm having met with Jesus. I've met with God, and He's changed me. Like I'm being changed from the inside out. Like He's doing away with all the stuff that's not nice. It's, the elements of me that aren't wholesome, and He's dealing with them, and He's making me new and giving me hope. So it's both, and it's both my personal connection with God and how then I relate to others in the world.
Interesting. And so from that kind of first moment in 2000, how have you got to where you are now?
Yeah, that's a great question. So as a young person, I made some really interesting choices around sort of between the ages of 14 to 23 when I really met God for myself. And I made some pretty self-destructive lifestyle choices that took me down a path that meant I got involved with all sorts of stuff that wasn't good. And so when I come to faith in God, I really had a heart for young people. So one of the things I did, I just started to volunteer in the youth projects that we did, and I started getting involved with the Friday night youth club. I wanted to give something back to some of the young people, particularly those young people that were a bit messed up and a bit lost and a bit directionless, and young people that didn't have any hope. And then I actually went back and studied youth and community studies through Truro College, Plymouth University. Ended up getting a HND in youth and community studies. Did that for 2 years. Then after that, the church then were about to open up a new housing project called the Turnaround, which was it still is today. It's a supported housing project for homeless young men, 16 to 24. They'd stay with us for 2 years, and we'd teach them how to cook, how to clean, how to manage their money, try and help them get into college and education. And it's really providing that sort of safe space for young people that have had a really bum start in life. You know what I mean? They come from broken families, and
because that's a similar age to what you said when you were struggling, that 16 to 24.
Yeah.
Do you see a lot of yourself in the kind of people that you meet, or the same mistakes and the same kind of destructive patterns?
Yeah, I think we all have the capacity to make poor choices in life, but then what's compounded for a lot of young people from perhaps disadvantaged backgrounds is where they haven't had stable families and parents and all that sort of stuff, who provide that sort of solid foundation for them. Man, life just is so much harder, and I think what we had a real heart to do as a church is to be proactive in providing something that's going to help those young people.
And that support looks like the Turnaround House.
Yeah, so Turnaround House is an exciting project. We still run it now in this church. It's now an 11-bed supported housing project, soon to be 17. So we're going to have the facility to accommodate 17 young people, which is amazing. And it's giving 17 young people a fresh start, another opportunity to have a crack at life and to get them their lives moving in the right direction. And that just really excites me that we've got that opportunity to do that.
Is that through, so obviously, stable housing?
Yeah.
Are they kind of required to do certain educational things, or like is there more support rather than just housing and food.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So the guys that come and stay with us will have a number of support needs, not just housing, but actually around their emotional needs, their physical needs, their mental needs, and educational needs as well. So we try to put together a holistic package of support around each individual young person that's tailored around their individual needs. So they all come in, they have a needs assessment that we'll go through and identify where their needs are. They all have a support worker that will work them, a key worker that will work with them during their time here and help them try and find education, employment. And actually some of the young people that come to us, they're not even ready to even think about education yet, because they've got to deal with some of their baggage that they've kind of accumulated in their short lives. So a lot of it is around just emotional support and putting in sort of just regular routines that maybe you and I would take for granted, of just kind of getting up, maintaining, just brushing your teeth and getting your hair sorted, those sort of things. Believe it or not, when you've had no structure in your life. So it's a fairly tough program that we run. It's not, that young people don't come here and just think, well, I'm going to sit on my Xbox all day and play. There's an expectation that they want to really move on with their life, and so we're here to help them to do that. If they want to engage with it, it's all down to them. We can't make them do that. And we've had some amazing success stories over the years of young people going off to university and going on and graduating and doing art degrees, and we've had young people that have gone off and done great things. Equally, we've had young people where the stories haven't been that great. They've gone off and carried on down destructive lifestyle choices. We can't, we're not here to make people do anything. We're here just to help people if they want it.
I think that's a hard kind of realization to come across. Whenever people in my life have been going through tough times, there's always that impulse to want to make them do changes or go through certain things because that it will make them feel better.
Yeah.
But like you said, it has to come from them. It has to be their own process, and you can't kind of force anyone into anything.
Yeah. There's that saying, isn't there? You can lead a horse to the water, but you can't make the jolly thing drink.
Yeah, exactly.
You can't. You can show people where life is and where to find everything that they need, but at the end of the day, they're the ones that have got to grab that opportunity and make the most of it. And we can help facilitate those moments. And
so is the Turnaround House run only by the church, or do you work with other organisations?
So we've got a great staff team that work and run Turnaround, and they're all people from within the church here. The project is run from the church. The house is run from the church. It's one of our sort of core ministries here that we have going on in the church. We do link in with lots of different agencies. So all the agencies that refer to us, we've obviously got partnerships with, and then there's other housing organisations as well, like Stonham and I don't think they're called that now, St Petrox, and all those other agencies are doing great work. We refer to them, they refer to us. So it's run by the church, but we work in partnership with others, and we refer to others like Ad Action. And
do you get support from the council?
The support from the council, they obviously the council refer to us as well. So a lot of the young people come to us that they do. The council, the local town council here, have supported this church phenomenally. They're absolutely wonderfully. In fact, just recently, one of our new projects. So we're in the stage of rebranding the church, and we're going to come up. We've come up with these 4 different houses, we've talked about Turnaround House, which occupies one of our sort of building spaces. The other one is going to be called something called Storehouse, and Storehouse is going to become. The vision for that is that it will become like a little multi-agency hub in one of our buildings. So we're just putting in a commercial kitchen into that space, and actually the council have just provided the funds to put that kitchen in there. So we're really thankful for them. I mean,
do you know the Soul Food, the organisation down here?
Yeah, so
will it be with them or similar?
Well, we're really hoping Beth from Soul Food is going to be. We've already spoken to her. Ellen, who's one of our staff team here, she have been in contact with her, and I think they're going to be relocating here.
Oh, brilliant!
And Disc, who are doing a fantastic work with the sort of most vulnerable people in our community here, and homeless. That they're going to be coming in here and running their sessions in the storehouse on a Tuesday and a Friday. And then outside of those times, the Tuesday and the Friday, what we're hoping to do is to put on a number of sort of community feast meals and just invite people to come, and if there's sort of families that are in need, in crisis, we're hopefully going to be able to be working with charities like CAP, Christians Against Poverty, to do debt advice and to really help people out that are in debt, because the debt crisis in this country is just ridiculous. Obviously we've got a food crisis where people can't afford to feed themselves, so Disc are going to be able to do that. We're going to have this kitchen where we're going to be able to cook for families, and we'll have a bank of food. So if people I've just got no food, I don't know what to do, I'll go down to storehouse. We'll have meals that we'll be able to give out to people that will be pre-cooked, pre-arranged, and we'll just distribute them out. So, and the council have been amazing. Like, we've presented that vision to the council, and they're just like, wow, they've already identified that to have a provision like that in this community is so important. I think they've tried and explored different options of trying to get together a community hub, but I don't think they've ever really found the right space. So,
wow, sounds amazing.
Yeah.
And so you got two houses. What are the other two?
Okay, so that's Turnaround House, which is a supported housing provision for young people. Storehouse will be a community hub. The other one is going to be called Firehouse, and Firehouse is going to be located in one of our other buildings as well, next to the storehouse, and that is going to be a creative prayer and worship space. And what we've identified is that in this crazy world of busyness, where there's just such intense pressure on people to perform and to do and to provide, what we recognise is that there's a need for people just to come and be and just reflect, and space to almost breathe. So Firehouse will be a creative prayer and worship space where we want people just to come and just breathe and meditate on God and to pray. And we want to give people space just to come and experience God and the peace that He can bring in spite of all the craziness that's going on around us. We believe as Christians we can actually have peace in those moments. And so to have a space where people can just come and be creative. And so we're going to kit the space out with all wood. We're going to either wood pallet it, or we're going to OSB board this room, and people can come in there and they can write their prayers on the walls. They can graffiti the walls, and then when we're done with that, they can take that down. And we really want to capture and give people space just to come and express themselves. And sometimes it's about expressing those joy-filled moments in life, and sometimes it's about expressing those lament moments where it's tough for people. And so there'll be a community of people there that can support people through difficult times. We can provide counselling, and we're going to have these little healing booths as well, where people can come and have prayer if they need prayer for any physical ailments or emotional wounds that they might be having. It's just going to be a space for that. So that's going to be Firehouse.
Okay. Just on that, what I find interesting is I love that space and it sounds great. Do you think that people who aren't religious might be potentially put off coming and being able to use a space, which they, I think nowadays everyone needs a quiet space.
Yeah.
I'm just interested to know if you...
Yeah, we are a faith-based organisation, and our faith is our motive behind what we do. The reason why we do it, there's this little verse in the Bible that says, "For Christ's love compels us." So we're compelled to do these works because we have been transformed by the love of God, and that causes us to, because Jesus says, "Love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your mind, with all your soul and strength." And then the second thing is love your neighbour as yourself. And we think that they're the most important commands that Jesus that told us to do. Go and love God, love others. But we recognise that not everyone's on that page, you know, and that's fine. We need to be clear about who we are, but equally that needs to be done in a respectful way, to respect that everyone's on their journey, and some people might not choose to follow God, and I completely respect that. But this space is going to be that space where we're saying, hey, if you're interested in pursuing a spiritual journey with God, not that you've got to, but that's what this space is for. And for those that don't want to engage with that, hey, I'm not making anyone come to it. They don't have to come.
Yeah.
It's really, you know, God never forces himself upon anybody. It's all free will. He's given us free will. It's choice.
I think what my reasoning behind the question was less about whether people believe or not, but more what I like about the church is that there is that idea to organise places like that. And I don't know any other organisations that aren't faith-based that would put together a Firehouse equivalent.
Yeah.
So if if you don't necessarily have the same beliefs, like where do you go to find a space that is where you can sit and do nothing and draw on the walls and write your kind of loves and hates and feelings and what you're struggling with?
Yeah.
That's what I think you're almost missing from life outside of kind of the church.
Yeah. Well, where do people go? For me, I guess I found my hope in God, and I take everything to Him. You know, my frustrations, my joy-filled moments, they all go to Him. Yeah. And I find such peace and love, you know, in return whenever I go to Him. And I don't know. I mean, I know you can't really say I just go to that place to meet with God, because for me personally, you know, I can't help but meet God every time I go in the sea. I'm like, wow, this is amazing. I look around me, I'm like, oh, dude, look at these waves. Like, and then for me personally, to know the God who created them, like that just adds so much more depth to that little moment. Because not only am I experiencing the creation of those waves, but I'm experiencing the creator, and to actually have the ability to know the one that created those waves. Man, it is. I'm just like, I encounter God in those moments just as much as I do when I'm in a room that's like this. So I don't think I can. For me, I can't confine God to one little room and say just go there. No, of course, it's like it's so much bigger than that. It's like the world, the universe. You know, it's like wow.
And I think as we've got Mac here, do you want to touch on what the youth project is doing and kind of what's being organised there and where it's going in the future?
Yeah. Okay. So let me just cover it. We've got, and I'll talk to you about the youth, but we've got Turnaround House, Storehouse, Community, Firehouse, and then the last one will be WaveHouse. And we're renaming that the church, WaveHouse Church, because that's a word that we really feel that God's given us. Because we're surrounded by waves, and whether you're a surfer or not, this is the context that we find ourselves in, and we think that waves and the ocean are symbolic of people being refreshed, people being energised.
So is that going to be the name?
That's going to be the name of the church, and it's going to be the name of this space as well. And so we're looking at sort of putting together a new vision for how we use this space, and we'd love to see this space being used to connect more with the community. One of the things that we're looking at doing is putting in a mini ramp in here. So as a church, we've got a mobile mini skate ramp which we to take out to little events. We've also got a double-decker bus that we're in the process of converting into a mobile community space. And so again, sort of taking the good news out into the communities. So we want to put a little mini ramp in just over there. We set the mini ramp up in here over Christmas for the Christmas market, and it just went down so well. There was so many people from the community came in and started to use this space. And for us, it's about us connecting with the community and allowing them access to this space. So this space will be called WaveHouse. Okay. We'd really like to create a space for like surf art, and I think there's probably lots of surfers in Newquay that have got old boards sitting in their garage that tell the story of Newquay, and I wonder what it would look like to have a massive space like this being used to tell that sort of story. Yeah. So WaveHouse being something that connects with the geography of this place and surf culture, and I think there's a great story to tell. I think Newquay's got a great story to tell that's rooted in surfing. Surfing's part of its story and its history, but we need somewhere to tell that story, and I think that connects with young people as well. So we're really excited about the opportunity to be able to have Mac, who's our youth guy down here, and he's got a real heart and a vision to open up this space for some of the town's young people and to do like a youth cafe. And we just think, what a great opportunity again to really connect with young people and have a space where they can come and be and be safe, and not try and steer them away into some positive lifestyle choices, as opposed to the drugs and the alcohol and all the stuff that they could get sucked into. That's hopefully what this space will be.
Yeah. And so you still do you do a weekly sermon on a Sunday?
Yeah, so we have a Sunday session, Sunday gathering of people from all different walks of life. So, and they're all different people. We've got people that have no faith, to people that have been walking with God for many years. So and everyone in between. Yeah. All different ages.
So it's obviously open to everyone.
Open to everyone.
So come down. What does it look like? Like how does it?
So it's very, very informal. The doors open at 9:30. We always have fresh coffee. We think coffee is just a great way of connecting with people. So we always have like nice coffee. We put some food on, so there'll be croissants and fruit for people. And there's activities for kids, so the kids can go out, and a lot of that is sort of geared around the Bible. So we open up the Bible, we say, well, what does the Bible say? What's God saying to us through the Bible? How is this relevant for your life and my life? How are the teachings of Jesus relevant for us? What can we all learn from them as a community? Because Jesus' teachings stand alone. 2,000 years after he walked this earth, still there's 2 billion people on this planet that are following his teachings. So there must be something in there that's relevant for us today. What are they? How can we learn from that? How can it make us better people, more loving people, more kind and compassionate and more generous? Because we believe that God is generous, that he's kind and compassionate, and so how can we be like that? So a lot of the Sundays is helping people in their spiritual journey to grow in who God is and experience who he is. And for some people, I say they don't even believe in God. We have people here that are like, I'm still got loads of questions. It's like, okay, just come with your questions. Like, we've all got questions. But what it is, it's an opportunity just for us all together as a community of people to ask those questions, and to hear from God.
Have you noticed over the years certain themes that keep cropping up? Like questions that people ask over and over again, or problems that that the community seemed to kind of have, and has that changed? Was it money issues 10 years ago, and now it's too much technology or too much screen time, or are there things that people are
the issues with screen time is huge. That's affecting the generation and how we connect and communicate as human beings. It's radically changed, and I think how the church then has to adapt to use technology in a very healthy way is important. The issues that people presented 10 years ago, I mean, the bottom line is, I think humanity in itself has always been a little bit broken. So we're always asking questions: how can we improve our lives? How can we fix things? How can we make things better? So I think the church is uniquely placed in this time to maybe have some answers to those questions. Not that we've got all the answers, we're not perfect, but yeah, I think people come to us asking all kinds of questions. They come with their doubts. Who is God? Is he real? If he's real, who is he? Can I know him? Those kind of questions. They're deep searching questions that I guess a lot of people would ask. What is the meaning of life? How on earth did we get here? Was it some freakish accident of two colliding atoms? Where did those atoms come from? All those kind of questions. They're the big questions. We do kind of explore them to some extent, but then the sort of issues of day-to-day life. How should I treat my kids? How do I be a good dad? How do I be a good parent? How should I treat my wife? Or how should I? So all those sort of everything from the big narratives of life, all the way down to the small minutiae detail of how should I spend my money.
What I like is that they're able to come with those questions and ask like a place and people and an organisation that isn't driven by money or anything like that. So, where else do you go to ask, how do I treat my kids, without having to pay someone, £30-40 to give you a seminar on it or something like that.
Yeah.
And I think that having to pay for something just takes away a little bit of the love and feelings that you get from when someone gifts you an idea and gifts you some information or some knowledge or help or just time listening to you when they're not being paid. I think that's a lot more important and potent and and that space is the church is the only place that I really know of that you can come in and kind of go, what's the meaning of life, and explore it with someone.
It's well, that's what changed me. That is exactly what changed me. And it wasn't coming to a big church like this. Actually, it was sitting in someone's living room who opened up their home to us and and gave us the opportunity to sit around a meal table and just say, hey, where did we all come from? Who is Jesus? Is he real? Is he just more than just a historical figure? Really, was he the Son of God? I had those opportunity to ask those questions, just sitting around a table, just like kind of what we're doing now, I guess, in a very real way, and it kind of provoked me then just to go on that journey.
Yeah. So what's kind of next for what you're doing?
Well, I'm really excited about the next step that we have as a faith community here in Newquay and in Cornwall. So we've got an expression of church in Perranporth as well called the New Wave Community, and we're really excited about trying to develop these sort of 4 houses. I think that will be the sort of next step about how we move forward with those visions and those projects that were associated with that. Getting them established and embedded in the community is going to be the next thing that we really push for.
Is your congregation growing, do you feel?
I think because I've come into this role in September last year.
Okay.
So I've only been overseeing this church. So my story is I met Jesus in this church. I became the youth leader in this church, like Mac is. Then I became the assistant leader in this church. Then in 2012 went down to Perranporth and started a church down there called the New Wave Community.
Okay, yeah.
And then last September came back into this role. The minister that was in this church, Mike and Sheila Robbins, they were an amazing couple that faithfully served this community for 26 years. I mean, so a lot of the work that we're doing now and the vision that we've got going forward is building upon the foundation that those guys have laid, and they faithfully serve this community.
Is your vision the same as theirs? Have you come in and?
I think everyone's going to have a slightly different take on things, aren't they?
Yeah.
And whatever leader is. I mean, Boris Johnson's going to be doing things very differently to Theresa May. It's just the way it goes, isn't it? They go. I think what I share with Mike is a real heart and desire to see Newquay transform for the good, without a shadow of a doubt. How we do that might be slightly differently. He might have had a different vision in one respects. Not that his was wrong and mine was right, or vice versa. It's just different. I think that moving forward will definitely be looking to sort of implement these four houses, get them up and running, and go from there. Cool. Yeah.
Just to kind of finish up, really. How do people get involved if they're listening to this and they're intrigued or interested, or what's the best place for them to?
So at the moment, the best place for people to connect. They can. The cafe that we run here is open most of the week except for Friday. So people can just come in here and have a cup of coffee and have a chat if they need that. That's if they live locally. Our website at the moment, which again is just in the process of all being rebranded and renamed. So we can direct people there temporarily to nccdream.com. That will give a connection point if people want to connect with us. We are on social media. We've got a Facebook page, NCC, or Wave, or the New Wave Community down in Perranporth or St Agnes. If they're that way, they can connect with that community there. And we post all our messages on there, so people can listen to things and engage that way. So there would be the sort of two places. You come to one of our buildings, check out one of our Sunday celebrations. Do you know what I mean? It might be something that you just don't know. It might help some people out on their journey.
Yeah. And and the coffee's good here. Must be.
Coffee's all right, mate. Yeah. It's not too bad.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks for doing this.
No worries.
Really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Really interesting to hear how it's kind of grown and what the vision is. Sounds like you got a lot going on.
There's a lot going. It's exciting.
Yeah.
Listen, one thing I just want to say is that look, being a Christian is flipping not. Whoever said it was boring, for me, it's the most exciting, compelling, life-changing thing I've ever done. And it's far from boring. If faith is boring, then you're in the wrong faith or in the wrong church, because church is not boring. It's exciting. For me, it's exciting, and it's that's the only thing I would say, really. Just give it a go, man. Give it a go.
Cool. Well, thanks.
Yeah, no worries. Good to chat to you.
Yeah, that was interesting.